We finally saw the genetic counselor. So today we finally got to see the genetic counselor. He had a genetics appointment today with the geneticist, the dietitian, and we actually got to see the genetic counselor also, which I've been waiting for since he was diagnosed. I took down some notes so I didn't forget anything. And just like with any other appointment, we got his measurements first. He is weighing in at almost 18 pounds and he is almost 27 inches. So he's getting really, really big, which is good. The first person that we saw at the appointment was the dietitian. We skipped last week's blood spot test because he was sick, and whenever he has lots of mucus, it tends to make his levels go up. So we skipped last week's test, so we didn't have to go over what his levels were and make any adjustments to formula, but we did talk about starting solids. She asked when we would like to start solids, and I am always one that does not start solids until 6 months at least, and then from 6 months I always wait for the signs that they're ready, like if they are okay with a spoon, and if they don't push the spoon back out, then I know that they are ready to handle food. Somewhere in the next, he'll be 6 months and 2 weeks, so anywhere from 2 weeks to probably another month and a half, and we'll be starting solids, which I must be honest, the thought of starting solids makes me want to cry. I know I'll be able to do it because I'm determined to do what's best for him. It's just nerve-wracking because with PKU you gotta measure stuff, you gotta know exactly how much they're getting. They can have a certain amount of phenylalanine a day, and then it's just a lot to take in, and it's really overwhelming, and it makes me super nervous. So yeah, moving on. Then after we got done with the dietitian, the genetic counselor came in to see us, and she introduced herself. I had never met her before, like I said, and she was really nice, and she sat down, and normally she sees parents a little sooner than we saw her, but she doesn't see them right away just because she wants to give it time to sink in, and for the parents to kind of accept the fact that their child does have PKU. So she doesn't see them right off the bat, but she normally sees them sooner than 5 months. And so she went over the whole, what is PKU and what does it mean, and the whole breakdown of it, which I pretty much knew it all. She just re-put the information fresh in my brain. So, for those of you that don't know, PKU is a genetic disorder. Me and my husband are both carriers for PKU, and that being said, we both have an enzyme that is broken, but we have a backup of that same enzyme, so that makes it to where we are just carriers and it doesn't affect us. With PKU, he got both of our broken enzymes or genes, and that made it to where he has 2 broken ones, so it does affect him. And with PKU, if you don't have this specific enzyme, it does not break down phenylalanine, and it doesn't convert it into tyrosine. With that being said, too much phenylalanine can build up the brain and fog up in the brain, and it can cause severe mental disabilities and all of that. So she also went on to say that there is a lot of genetic mutations where it doesn't matter if you follow the diet or if you follow doctor's orders, that you can still end up having the bad side effects from that mutation. With PKU, as long as you're on diet, you don't have any of those bad side effects. So it's very important to keep him on a very strict diet, and he will have to be on this diet for the rest of his life, unless he is a responder to Kuvan, which with his test results, which we'll get into that, with Kuvan, it makes it to where you can process more phenylalanine. And then there's also something in the works called PEG-PAL, and that pretty much drops your levels to where you can be on a normal diet, from what I've heard. It hasn't been approved, so I don't know too much about it because it's not an option for us at this point. I'm just focusing on what is an option. I'm trying to take it one day at a time. So, yes, if he doesn't respond to medication, then he'll have to be on the diet for the rest of his life, which means very, very low protein. She also went on to break down our family history. And with that, because we are both carriers, we know that we got the carrier gene from one of our parents. So like on my side, it's either my mom or my dad that had the carrier gene, and we'll never know which one it was. So then they went into like siblings and stuff like that. And like I have one sister that is from my mom and my dad. So my sister, Heather, she only has a 1 in 800 chances of having a child with PKU. So I thought that was pretty interesting. And then, like I said, that's just because we have the same mom and the same dad. With my brother Cody, we don't have the same mom. So let's say that the carrier gene was on my mom's side, he wouldn't be affected by that. But if it was on my dad's side, then he would have the same chance as my sister, which would be 1 in 800 of having a child with PKU. And Kagan is the only one that in his sibling that has, out of his siblings, that has the same mom and the same dad. So we won't be able to know if it came from his mom's side or his dad's side, and which set of the siblings has the chance of having the 1 in 800 chance of having a child with PKU. But like I said, the chance is slim to none because, and the reason why PKU is so rare is because two people that are carriers normally don't end up together, just because there's not that many, you know, there's a lot of people in the world. Not everybody is a carrier for PKU. I got so much information out of this appointment, and I'm so glad. As far as our future kids go, we have a 75% chance of not having a child with PKU, but we have a 25% chance of having another child with PKU. As far as when we have another child, because Landen does have PKU, with him, they did the newborn screening at 24 hours old, and then we didn't know that he had PKU until the callback, obviously. But because we know that Landen has PKU, what we will do in that instance is, after our child is born, they will take some cord blood and send it to the lab, and then that way, if the newborn screen gets flagged, we already have the confirmation test as backup, so we'll know really soon, confirmation wise, if the child has PKU or not. It won't be like, oh, you need to rush and get to the hospital. It'll be, okay, the newborn screen was flagged and they're going to go ahead and do testing on your cord blood. So that's really neat. We did get the test results back. We had a DNA test done on him to see what specific gene mutation he had. And I think that the reason why they did that was just to see specifically what gene mutation he had, and they can also see based on the gene mutation and the codes if he will be a good candidate for Kuvan. Not to say that that is wrong or right 100% of the time. It just gives them a better idea. The way she said it was, let's see, results and interpretations. This patient is apparently homozygous in the PAH gene for a missense variant defined as C.1222C and then T. So what is supposed to be a C is actually a T, and that is his specific mutation. Kind of, I guess that's how she explained it to me. With that being said, typically with that, he wouldn't be a good responder to Kuvan. But like I said, that has been proven wrong in the past, and so we will still trial him on Kuvan when the time is right, and he could respond great to it, or he might not respond at all. We won't know until we try. Sticking with the Kuvan, he is 5 months old now, so, well, he's 5.5 months old, and at our clinic, they like to start Kuvan at 2, but if everybody's on board, as long as the dietitian, the geneticist, and everybody agrees, then they can start it as early as a year, which is a little frustrating because I do hear of people getting to do their trial at 3 months old. So that's a little, but at the same time, 1 year, that's good. It gives us time to figure out the feeding stuff, and then we'll go from there. So I understand, and that's perfectly fine. As far as milestones, we went over milestones, and he is doing wonderfully. He rolls over both ways. He grabs things. He's even trying to, like, army crawl. So they said that as far as milestones, he is doing great. What it means to be a carrier is something that I kind of wanted to hit on because, like I said, Cade's levels were slightly elevated, and so I want to know if it is just him being a carrier, if that could be why he is delayed or frustrated sometimes. And they said that there is no scientific, they don't have the science to link them together at this point. So as far as they know, no, that's not, him being a carrier does not mean him being a carrier and having the other issues, they're not related. The last thing we talked about was Caden. His levels were slightly elevated, not elevated enough to where even if he did have PKU or a slight variation of it, they wouldn't do treatment because it's so low. I think we did the amino acid panel at his pediatrician's office, and the numbers that they gave me back was not the same conversion that the clinic does. So I texted the numbers to the dietitian, and it turns out that he was at a 1.7, I believe. So that's really low. It can even be considered within the normal range because with carriers, that it goes up and down. With anybody, it goes up and down. So it could be completely normal, or he can be a carrier. We don't know. But we are going to get him an appointment scheduled and have him, they're going to do a full DNA workup on him to test for any kind of gene mutation, not just looking at the phenylalanine or the PKU issue. So we will be getting Cade in, they said probably in April or May, which that's fine. But yeah, I just wanted to jump on here really quick and let you guys know, because whenever we first got the diagnosis, I didn't know how I was going to do it. I didn't know. I was just so blown away, and the thought of starting foods made me nauseous, and his future made me nauseous. But the group, the team of doctors that he has supporting us, it makes it so much better, and I'm so thankful for them. And they just reassure me that I got this, we got this, it's gonna be just fine, he's gonna be just fine. And that's just so great to hear. Counselor, he had but that's all I have to update on. So like this video if you did, comment any questions that you might have down below. I love hearing from you guys. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. Then once we get to 100 subscribers, we're going to do my husband does my makeup challenge, and I promise you're not going to want to miss that. So make sure you subscribe to this channel before you leave, and we will see you in the next one. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.